First of all, you need to know the 14 leadership principle, period. For those who did not land a job offer, who had worked with me personally, which is about 15% of those, there's 2 questions I would ask those leaders. The first question is, how many stories do you have? Because I don't remember reading all of them. They didn't even put in the effort themselves. If you're not going to put in the effort, you're not going to get the job. Anyone, anywhere, not even a startup. The second questions I ask them is, well, now that you have your question, how many times have you recorded themselves? It's very common, 1 time, and they didn't even make it through the whole thing. Guys, if you are bored with yourself while you're recording on yourself, you're not going to make it. If you make it to the final loop, if it's not this recruiter, other recruiter will be all over you because you've passed the phone screen. Okay? Guys, I want you guys to put your chin up and smile yourself, pat yourself on the back that you made it this far. It's really hard getting to the final loop at Amazon. Okay? Very, very, very hard. And when you make it to that point, the first thing in the recruiter's priority list are those who back away from the loop interview. It's actually a priority to them. And because they're not going to move forward with new candidate, they will revisit with you. You're ready in the system. Other recruiters can see it and they can see you. Basically, how do you solve a problem with no data? It should be in most of the interview questions, right? If you guys really think about what the interviewer is asking you, you have to look at the data to solve a problem. Yeah, you have to figure out what is the cause of the problem initially. Once you figure out the root cause, based on that, the data, the matrix, if you're an engineering leader, maybe your product fall apart. How did it fall apart? Where did it fall apart? How could you prevent it from happening by looking through the data, right? Once you have that down, now create a strategy or a plan from scratch. You may not have to create from scratch. What does that mean? Don't be stuck into the actual questions. Take a step back and work backward. Just think about, as an engineering leader, what are some of the biggest problems that you're able to solve for your business or for the product? Okay? Because supporting your business or the business that you own or the product relates to what? Customers. Because every single one of your answer needs to be tying around how you're able to impact the customer. So if you take a look at the top 3 things that you have solved, now work backward on that, okay? Taking a step back, once you've solved XYZ as your result, now take another step back. How are you able to deliver those results in detail? That's it, right? Now that you have the how part, take another step back. What problem did you actually solve? What was your goal? Right? My friend, that is the STAR method. I wanted to say working backward, but that's really copying Amazon because Amazon is known for working backward. I think that itself overpowers the STAR method, because if the one thing that I've learned from working for Amazon for all this time is working backward. If you're stuck and don't know how to even creating my own career coaching business or YouTube channel, I just work backward. Rather than driving myself crazy, I stop everything I do and I simply just listen to what my audience want and give it to you. That's it. You, same thing. For senior solution architect, a lot of the SA stuff, it's all over Glassdoor. You don't even need to spend money to hire coaches or anything. If you go to Glassdoor, all the questions are right there. I know that because that's exactly what I did for my clients. You need to know the infrastructure extremely well. You need to know all the 7 layers of networking and the framework. You need to know how cloud integrates with the technologies and the space that you're interviewing for. Amazon is not going to ask you questions that you don't have experience on. A lot of the time, even if they come with questions, they would at least kind of glance on your resume a little bit. Not everyone's going to look at your resume. Some of them prefer not to because they want to see if you really know your stuff. But there are a lot. It's based on what you have already done. The work that you've done for 10 years may not be relevant at the standard of Amazon. I'm not saying this to be cocky, guys. I really am not. When you are hired at one position at Amazon, you're wearing like 10 different hats, 10 different roles. I encourage you to take a look at all of my collaboration from Amazon. Take a look at my Amazon hiring leader collaboration. I've interviewed 2 bar racer who's a director level. I've interviewed a senior leader for product and engineering, and we all say the same thing. Because at Amazon, 1 year is relevant to at the bare minimum 4+ years. Most recently, I was a recruiting leader at Oculus Facebook. I was responsible for all of the specialized engineering hire across all of AR, VR for Pacific Northwest. The company at the time went through a reorganization where I have lost my entire recruiting team to a different org. I knew I had to rebuild my team quickly to help business teams scale. I took the risk of partnering with the development program manager at the time to generate a broad pipeline of talent from fresh out of school with zero recruiting experience. I was looking to build my team with those who are highly ambitious and have the aptitude for learning. I was able to build 4 new members quickly and hire an additional 4 internal candidates. I saw strong potential in one of my staff and promptly set her up for management track, where she was able to put an action plan together to help the new hires on board. The end result was, guys, my entire team hit our goal at 120%. Download my STAR template. This is probably the most important one, okay? And if you missed my talk with Stephanie, who is a chief of staff at Amazon Devices, and that story right there talks about Jeff Wilke as well. He is literally the right-hand arm for Jeff Bezos since the beginning age of Amazon, okay? It's a really big deal. That's the most innovative thing I've ever done. Don't copy it. It's inspiration for you to think about if you were to answer the same questions, the most proudest project or program or proudest anything you've ever done in your career. Think about that. That's the intent of all of these templates. Guys, that is just one out of the 10 template I have for you. Provide 3 large-scale example of your achievement. Let me give you an example of what I meant by that. At Amazon, I was able to build a team from scratch, physically fly out there to look at the landscape, into hiring the first facility manager and building the entire engineering team from scratch with the director at the time. And this is for Austin. And I did something similar for Madrid as well. So having the ability to build 2 development centers in 8 months was how fast the environment was moving in technical recruiting at the time. So as you're giving your example to the interviewer, and I know that a lot of you are wondering, what type of questions would they ask? We'll get to that in my Q&A section, which is next Tuesday, because a lot of the questions that Amazon does ask, you can find them on the internet. Any tips for new grad preparing ownership example? It has to do with your academic. If you don't have the experience, you just have to provide examples that's relevant to the technical environment or the environment of the question. What did you do, even academia, you, not your group, not your team, what was your responsibility, how you form your team, and did you assign the task, by the way, to complete an academia project? Is it related to artificial intelligence or machine learning? If you do, throw those buzzwords in there. You need to understand the position you're interviewing for and that environment that you don't have the industry experience. That's fine, but you have to look at what the environment is calling for and provide your answer around that. If you fail an interview, especially for an SDE2, I'm going to assume that it's a technical part. You need to be able to create or get involved in a project where you're coding at a higher scale or higher level so that you can re-interview and pass your interview with Amazon. If you are staying in the same position, the same job, and the recruiter sees your resume a year later or 2 years later, you're applying for the same role, they will pass you because you haven't grown from the main reason why you didn't meet the bar.